Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a Path of Exile Delirium build, and this build is going to be a skeleton physical summoner, or physical skeleton summoner. So let's get right into the build, and how we're going to start is we're going to look at the stats of the character, and then go through a few of the replays. One is with the tier 16, the Chimera, like one of the Guardian runs, and after that we're going to go into a Cyrus run, and after that we're going to go through the details of the gearing, the talents, and the choices of this build. This is a great build because it is my league starter. As you can see, I've been playing for close to 3 weeks now, and I was able to accumulate up to 86 Exalt with this build, and it's really speedy with farming. Its gear dependency is not as high, but you can perk it further, which will enhance your survivability. As you can see my HP even further, and also it is actually really good in most clear because we have really good stats. I'll go through the details with the farming and the tips I'm trading in a different guide, so stay tuned in the next guide about how to earn or how to basically profit about 1 to 2 Exalt per hour, and that should be pretty easily done for most of the build. So a systematic way of doing shopping, looking for items, or just farming efficiently is really helpful. So getting right into the build, what we're looking at right away is the particular stats. We have about 6.8k HP and 2000 shield. Now before I did my adjustment, I was sitting on about 7.5k HP and 2.3k shield. So I did an adjustment, I tweaked my build into more damage and sacrificed about 1200 effective HP. So this is actually the squishier version because I no longer want to level up anymore. Before that, I was trying to level to 97, I was trying to level to 96, so I had the other build for more defensive perks. Right away you can see we have about 26% armor. We can be a little higher, a little lower, and we do run 2 of the defensive potions for armor, and the 2 potions we have, it's the Balsa Flax and the Granite Flax. If I pop both of them, what we're going to look at is I'm at about 74% defensive for physical damage reduction, and also I have the Molten Shell. That will take me to 80% physical reduction, and that makes me almost physically invulnerable to most of the fights. Second to that, it's very easy to perk ourselves to about 100%, to 100% of the resistance, which takes us to 75, 75, 75. And with a perk, we get to 76 on fire particularly. And also we have some really good chaos resistance, and it's not too costly because as a summoner, we only need to build for minions and build for defensive perks. So after this, let's look into the perks here. I'll go through the path of building with us as well. So here, just as a table summary, we can see the minion damage is about 450. This can be up and down. I was sitting at 350, 400, 450, and we do have some decent stats with minion attack speed. Getting right into the build, we do run the Skeletal Summoner, and this is going to be an impaled physical build. You can see some of my gems are weakened. There is not a necessity for weakened gems, and some of them are just the standard level 20 or 21. So right away we're going to have the Summoning Skeletons, which is the main source of damage here, and we're going to be followed with the minion damage, Impale, Multi-Strike, with the melee physical damage support, and also brutality. This is going to be the main source of damage, and they do a ton of single target damage and great clear for maps particularly. Let's look into a replay, and after 2 replays with 1 normal map run and 1 Cyrus run, we'll go into the details of the build. So over here we have a replay with me running the tier 16 Chimera maps, and we'll go through that in detail. So as we go into the Chimera map, I will show you guys on the top of this section. You can see that I'm actually running the expensive version of the Animated Guardian. There's no need for that. You can go with the cheaper version for about 4 to 5 chaos, and that works pretty effectively. And right away you can see I'm just diving into the fights, and it's tier 16 and we don't have much trouble with it. And you can see that HP currently is a little higher because I'm actually running a tanky build during this recording. So I have about 10 or 15% less damage, but much more higher HP and shield. Most of the fights we can just run around with debuff enemies, and enemies don't really get us low. But if they do get us low, you can see the potion here. We have a set of potions. The HP potion just for the steady regain and also removal of the bleeding. The chaos potion actually instantly restores the 99% of our HP. And the other rotation just for the reasons. Notice here I got a little low. I can instantly pop the potion to heal myself up. And this is quite good because this kind of covers me for all situations. I want a flexible build for the starter, and this is very lovely because at the start you don't require many items, but you can perk it further and get right into the end game with this particular build. So as you can see, we're running around, we're just debuffing enemies with summoning skeletons because I do have the wand that triggers spells on cast. If you don't have that, you might want to use you might want to manually cast it pretty much. So it's not a big difference, but it does save you a bit of clicking if you do farm a lot. So here I'm auto-casting Desecrate, auto-casting Vulnerability, and auto-casting the Spirit Offering. I'm only going for one offering at the moment. You can see on the top corner, on the top left-hand corner, I'm running the Scatterbot, I am running the Spectres, which happen to be enough level for 4 Spectres. There's no need for that. 3 Spectres are absolutely fine. And, you know, even 2 Spectres are fine. We just need the 2 monkeys, pretty much. Running Animated Guardian, which the cheap version of Animated Guardian is absolutely wonderful. I only got to the expensive version of the Animated Guardian after I was able to accumulate about 20 Exalt on my gears, and I think towards other upgrades, and I have enough perks to make sure he's alive. I am running 10 zombies, they're just for the mid shield, they're here just to tank for us, they're not doing anything special for us, just as a, a bunch of minions that runs around. I'm running the Carrier Golem, of course, to buff the skeletons. I'm going for the Valve Skeletons, which is level 21 and 23. Those were about 1.5 Exalt. I haven't been checking the price, but if you can't find that particular one, then settle for the 2020 for now, or just settle for something at the start. That's the key part. Because it's a starter build, you don't have to go directly into the most expensive things. The tier 16 monsters do melt against us, and once we get to the boss, you can see that the Chimera will actually die pretty quickly. The fun part about the build is that I'm constantly spamming my potions, and this gives me enough armor against units like Chimera and against the monitor that hits really hard, that normally takes away a chunk of the the caster's HP, because we're like a mage witch. And usually last league I was having trouble because I didn't have enough armor. This league, with the talent tree of the Impale system, I was able to perk towards more armor, and with enough gears for armor, I'm actually pretty tanky with the potion. So very soon we're going to see that we'll be going for the Shadow Face, which you have to find him in the cloud. If I don't find him, so he's not doing enough damage to me, because I have the Bone Shield, I have my armor potions, and he can't do enough damage to us. We'll be going to the details of the build, but the flexibility of the build is wonderful because you can look towards building for more HP, building for more damage, or building for more utility, depending on your need in the current stage. Initially at the build, I was going for more damage because I want to get to tier 10 and plus maps for the Zara missions, and in order to do that, I don't mind dying, so I perked for more damage. After that, I stabilized with enough items, I was having enough damage, I respect myself into a bit more percentage to life, so this is the current stage, where about 7,389 HP, and effective HP is close to 9.5k, that's right. So you can see Chimera is pretty easy, and the monsters do die pretty quickly after I was able to gear myself, but I was able to do the Chimera, I was able to do those missions in about 3 days after the after the league start, and this is a great league start. Let's go into the Cyrus fight, and I'll go through that with you guys, then we'll go into the details of the build. Here we are with the Cyrus fight, and currently I'm actually showing the gem I had. So I'm currently going for that Awaken 8 Cyrus, and the gem I have is this Whispering Oculus, which is a pretty nice gem, but I'm taking this one off because I'm actually going for the gem that gives us Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you. And notice I'm not using the perfect potion rotation, because for me I was not used to my hotkeys if I had other potions, so I just went with those. I didn't need the 2 speed potion, I didn't need the mana potion to be exact, I just need some HP potion. The biggest potion is the instant heal potion on the 5th slot, which heals us for 99% of our HP. We have 75% chaos resistance, and that means using that potion just doesn't lose HP at all, we just instantly heal to full. And this avoids being bursted on by Cyrus because we have such a big HP pool, and we do have one cast when trigger, so cast when damage is taken. So I have leveled the cast when damage taken to level 15 at the start, and also Immortal Core to level 16. but as my HP goes further, I actually leveled that to level 20 and eventually 21 eventually for both of them. As for Cyrus Fires, because we're a very tanky build, the only thing we have to look towards is the positioning. And as a summoner, you don't have to worry about the positioning that badly. And also keep in mind, this is actually my 3rd or 4th time fighting Cyrus, so you might see some silly mistakes, but overall I want to show you guys how effective the build is. This is about a week or so into the league, and I was doing this recording for a Cyrus guide. You can see the skeletons, although they don't have the frenzy, defeating frenzy, they do go for Cyrus, and they have lots of single target focus. So we have no problem with the Cyrus on the first 3 stages, as most builds are, because that first 3 stages are pretty easy. And you can see that we're running the, the mid shield on most of my units, so they stay with us. And currently with my animated guardian giving us fortify, it even increases survivability. But there's no need for that. I was able to run Cyrus without the expensive animated guardian. In order to proceed with the Cyrus fight, the only thing we need to keep in mind for the build is that the skeletons needs to be summoned onto Cyrus. And because we do have the cast, the spells trigger when cast, we can debuff Cyrus at the same time. I am running the Sand and Blood, and you can see I'm currently using the Blood Aura. The Blood Aura actually mains the enemy, and that increases physical damage taken with a main support gem that gives us about 30 plus physical increased damage taken for the enemy when they are mained. And notice I'm switching the aura from Blood to Sand now, because I know this particular phase likely he's gonna hit me very hard. I want to reduce damage taken if possible. So when I get a chance, I can switch this back to Blood again to do more damage, but for now I want to be defensive. Because I'm still very new during this recording for the Cyrus, I'm not confident enough to just go with Blood. Nowadays, if I'm fighting Cyrus and don't mind dying, I'm actually using the Blood over Sand. Because I have a chunk of HP, I don't want to lose my 10% here. Because I was like, oh no, if I lose here, I have to farm for another hour. As for Cyrus, the build does enough damage so that we don't have to do much against him. As long as we have the skeletons, whether it's 11 or whether it's 10, it's enough against him. Because they excel in single target damage. We might not be the best multi-game AoE clear, but we're really good with the single target with the Impale skeletons. And this is going to be the last phase. So in this particular phase, one thing to keep in mind is that, well, you don't want to get trapped during the Cyrus maze, and you do want to get out of it, because that can potentially not only kill you, but also kill your specters, kill your, other minions, which will take time for them to be resummoned. But overall, the particular build enables us to have enough HP so we can just, we can run around. I was putting do not disturb, I was like, in case someone messages me. That's how I died last time. So I was like, we can run around, and as long as, you don't get mazed, you just follow the path, and we'll have a special guide for that. So it should be fine. The key for Cyrus is that if our HP do goes low, we have 2 choices. One is to drink a normal potion, the other one is instantly healing to full with 7,400 HP, which is going to be massive. So over here in this phase, you can see that I'm pretty new. I could actually blink to the real Cyrus, actually do damage to him, but here I was just running around trying to dodge his zap skills. So here I was playing more defensive than offensive. So nowadays if I'm playing, I actually go close to him and actually turn on the Blood Aura, and now here this is the running. So you actually start running. It's hard to tell where you're going sometimes because all the animations and everything. So just let the animation guide you. Just curse outside and let it guide you. That's the best part. And you can see here, this is the real showcase of how durable we are. We can soak Cyrus skills not fully, but we can soak 80% of that, but instantly hitting to full after. The downside is I didn't prepare enough potions, and 2 of my potions are kind of useless. The mana potion and one of the, the quicksilver is no useless. And here we go, we got Cyrus. And you can see, in the majority of the fight, we did not lack damage. That's why I actually built for more defensive reasons. But if you're lacking damage, and if you don't mind dying, it's actually better to go into the blood state and going next to Cyrus, and just enable you to deal enough damage. Once you can farm Cyrus Awaken level 8, you should be a lot of currency coming your way with enough fortune. And even if you don't get any good jobs from Cyrus, just being able to defeat him means your farming efficiency is so much higher. Because there's always potential for him to drop something good like, Awaken Gems, Awaken Orbs, but also the Guardians can drop something better as well. I've actually had Awaken Gems dropped from the Guardian, Awaken Orbs from, the Warlord Orbs, the Crusaders, etc. So after enough showcase, let's go deeper into the build. So getting into the build right away, we're going to look at the skill tree. We'll use both of the path of building and also my current talent tree to explain a few things. So right away, if you're leveling for the build, you can still go for this path, or you can actually go for the minion damage path, which will actually take an extra perk. And I'm sure some of us do know how to level up for the minions. You actually perk towards the Grave Intention for... Actually, you don't have to perk towards Grave Intention at the start when you're leveling. You can perk towards Revenant's Horde, you can perk towards the Death Attunement, and then you can also perk towards here for more minion damage, which is all over the place. And I know most of us do consider perking over here, which this time I actually avoided. Well, I'll try to explain why. I've actually avoided the Madras Army, the Redemption, and Spiritual Ed. So the highlight here for this particular talent tree is going to be a few things. One thing is I'm actually going for the Anointment, the Amulet, so it's over here. I've actually went for the Ravenous Horde over going for the Death Attunement. It is actually cheaper to go for the Ravenous Horde, and also the stats perks from the Death Attunement happen to be on this side. It's actually the same perk to get here for 7 perks, and here it cost me 7 perks to get here. The stats wise, yes, this is actually slightly better. This is only because I went for the life perks here. If I didn't go for the life perks, it's actually cheaper to come this way. But because I went for the life perk and also the jewel socket, it was actually worth it to go for this one. So I actually perked up for this one, and I actually anointed the amulet for this one. After that, I'm sure some of you have seen this particular jewel. So this is a Glorious Vanity jewel. I bought this one for about 1.5 exalted. It might be a little lower, a little higher, maybe 140 chaos at the moment. This is definitely something to get an upgrade on defensive perks in the end game. This is not a priority. This is the secondary defensive gears. Once you have at least 5,000 or 5,000 plus HP, that's when you start look towards defensive things. I'll show you what it does. So let me take this jewel off. Look at my current effective, basically the energy shield, 318. I put this one back on. I'm sitting at 2000 energy shield. So I don't have many items for energy shield. This is purely from this jewel. So what this jewel does is, it's actually one of those, the timeless jewels. There's 3 of them, and we actually want this one to corrupt one of the big knots. The big knots that's corrupted is going to be this one, which I don't usually use Pain Attunement, but once I corrupted it, all the knots here are actually corrupted into something different. So if you go for the in the name of the Donari, this will automatically corrupt that into the corrupt soul, which gives you 20% maximum life as maximum energy shield. So 20% of my life goes into energy shield, like that, it increases energy shield by that much. And also the 50% no chaos damage taken bypass energy shield is fine, because I actually run a potion because of that. And I actually don't mind having my potion going, so I'm actually immune to a particular debuff. And also the perks in the vicinity are actually corrupted. Here I got the cast speed, I got air damage, movement speed, spell damage, mana regen, and also 5% energy shield. The best ones to look for is actually the maximum HP, energy shield, and other things, but it's hard to get those because it's always randomized how you get the small perks. The big perk here is definitely secondary, and I don't recommend perking this out until you're level 90 and you have enough spare money. So once you have enough spare currency and you have upgraded your basically converter wand to +1 at least, then you look towards more defensive perks. So I have to focus on that. The second thing I want to focus on is definitely going to be my cluster jewel. So as a physical Impale skeleton, we're actually going for the cluster jewel here with the Viper Stone, the large cluster jewel, which give us, one is for Call to the Slaughter, the second one is Rotten Claws. Call of Slaughter is just a plus for more damage. The Rotten Claws is something we really wanted, and this does give us a damage enhancement because we're running a full Impale build. You can see I do have a small bonus there for 3% elemental resistance. This is actually great for building for more defenses. So I get about 9% elemental resistance on top of everything else I'm getting. So 10% damage, 3% elemental. And this is actually great. So, you know, the 3% elemental adds up. And that's actually what 9 times 3 is 27% resistance, pretty much. Pursue the rise. So Rotten Claw is something we really wanted because I want Impale. I'm actually running the Impale jewel here for the level 21 Impale, and that's actually added by the chest armor. So we got level 22 Impale. I'm also running where is it over here? I'm actually running Dread Banner and also Generosity for more Impale rate. So plus the 20% Impale take us even further. which is great. After that, Call to the Slaughter means minion deals 15% more damage, and because we spam summon skeletons, minions that are recently summoned get a lot of boost of attack speed and movement. This just makes them even stronger. It's like a small feeding frenzy in that sense. And as you can see, because we actually did not go for the jewel socket that's over here, which is not that useful for us. If you look at it, well, I'll be getting intelligence, I get elemental damage, which are not very effective. So I'll be spending about 5 perks here for no particular reason. Of course, I can go down here for 4 perks. Actually, this is 4 perks. I could go down here. So the perks here was actually more effective because I want to build into armor, I want to build into other things. Here I'm getting 8% armor at least, and I'm also getting the strength perks, which enables me to have more HP. While going here, something really nice to look into is going to be the increased maximum HP over here for the bunch of HP knots. And over here, down here, you get the other HP knots. You get the maximum fire resistance, a ton of fire resistance, which lowers the gear requirement for a starter build. So here we get the 4%, we get 8% and plus 1%, we also get the 3%. And as we keep going down, we can see the plus armor again. So notice I'm actually building a percentage plus armor. So this is when I pop the potions. You can have a look here. When we pop the 2 armor potions, I'm sitting at 74% armor for the physical reduction because I'm getting more of the armor perks as well. So those are pretty nice. And I think if 16% and 8%, if we have the gearing towards armor here, this is a corrupt item, which doesn't have 20% quality, 494 armor. This one has 499 armor, which is great for me actually. This one does have armor and evasion. This one has armor, and that's pretty much it. I don't have that much armor, but the percentage does help. And because we're here with the cluster draw, we can go upwards towards the left knots, and more life knots. And also the no curse auras for my skill is actually more effective. And that is great because Generosity and Dread Banner give us more Impale. And that's all we wanted for the skeletons. Followed by that, because I'm in the region for STR and also more armor, I can get the Socket Drill very easily. I can go in for the Constitution, which is a massive plus of HP. And if I do want to go defensive, I'm sure you have seen where I can go. So notice there's a bunch of 5% life knots. And if I wanted, I can remove some of my jewel sockets, I can remove some of my defensive minion perks to go for more HP. And this will make me durable enough to do tier 14 and tier 16. And that's the crucial part about the starter build and to build forward. I did perk down here because not for those 3 perks, but rather for this one. So the 20 life, 10% maximum life, and 10 to S strength, it's pretty much 25 life and 10% maximum life. It might not be necessary, but I figured, it's 5 points and it's about, it's about 4% life per perk in that sense. So you get the strength here. It's okay. I could have removed all those actually. I could have went for those. That might be a little bit more effective. Because I had so much more perks at the start, I went all over the place for HP. Eventually I unperked this one and I unperked those for more offensive for the socket drawers. Notice I have 4 socket drawers. So this one here, one over here, one over here, and one over here. I'm going for all the socket drawers with 2 dust. I'm looking forwards minion with 12% damage and 10% skeleton attack speed. And that's for all the socket drawers. I've been buying those socket drawers and valving them myself, and I was lucky enough to get the minion with 5% increased damage, which is a small factor. Here we got You Cannot Be Cursed with Silence, and here I got You Cannot Be Maimed. Nothing too special, but I think those are some of the best ones we can get. The other one we could have gotten was that Corrupted Blood Cannot Be Inflicted on You, but I do have this one for that purpose. So during the time for Cyrus, what we do is we just unsocket this one and we put this one in. This is our basically map clear one. This gives us taunt and also blind for the minions, which they hit 5 attacks per second pretty much, and they usually just blind and taunt constantly. And this is great for minion, just normal mapping. This is great for Cyrus. You do want Corrupted Blood Cannot Be Inflicted on you. After that, HP and anything else would help. But if you don't have that, just go with a Corrupted Blood, can help with Cyrus. Because this is a source of damage you don't want to be taken, and it stacks up a lot. Notice that I'm actually building for more defensive perks for my minions as well. So over here, I'll be perking for Sacrifice. Minion gains 20% increased life and they regen with more elemental resistance. Over here, I'm going for the Spirit Command, and that gives them a bit attack speed because we're next to it. And I'm perked towards the increased damage, increased HP, Chaos Resistance, and also Strength. This is one of the sources I can get my Chaos really high. I'm sitting at 81%. I could go a little higher, but I don't think that there's a need for it. So here, there's some really nice life perks as well. And yes, I mentioned about getting my minions more defensive. So we're going to the Necromancer after this one. So I perked down here. So it did take me 1, 2, 3, 4. So it took me about 4 to 6 perks to get the Indomitable Army. The reason I'm keeping the Indomitable Army and also this one over here, Grave Intention, is because I decided to buy the expensive Animated Guardian, which cost me about 4 Exalted. And those two kind of ensures that he doesn't die, and also, you know, the whole combo with turning, this one turns the maximum HP into extra energy shield, and we'll also have the armor for the Animated Guardian, so every 500 energy shield goes into 1% life regen. So Animated Guardian with 100,000 HP regens about 20% of his maximum health per second. That keeps him alive. But if you're not actually going for the, you know, Animated Guardian at the start, you can don't go to this section, and you don't have to go to this section, so you free up a lot of perks to go for the defensive ones over here and even more HP, and perhaps you can even perk out of those just for more damage. If you get a 3-socket jewel, which I recommend to only get the added 8 passive skills, because if you go for more of those, it kind of spreads out. It costs you 3 knots per perk, and you want to be very close to those big ones. So because we got the Indomitable Army, I actually prefer to go with the maximum HP and physical damage over the elemental resistance. Only reason because of that, after looking at path of building, I actually have over 75 auras on my minions, and I'm actually going for the Commander of Darkness. So with the Necromancer perks with Ascendancy, firstly we're going to go to Madness Aggression. After that, for the Unnatural Strength for 2 plus all mini gems, which is very important for us because this is how we get 11 or 10 skeletons. After that, we go for the Bone Barrier because although after the nerf it might not seem to be massive, you still get 10% damage reduction on physical, and the recovery is not much, but the bone armor is very good. So even after the nerf, I pop it all the time. You can see it in replays. I used it before I engage. I just pop it with, it's like a potion rotation. Every 3 seconds, we get a 3.45 second bone armor, and this is really good. The downtime only 3 seconds, but during the downtime, we can consider using Vault Mountain Shore. We can actually use we can trigger with the Immortal Core here. So there's a few things that keep us defensive. We can also blink out. So I still prefer bone armor. And I went for the Commander of Darkness. Not only we have lots of auras, so we have Generosity, we have the Flash and Stone, and we also have the, I probably said it wrong at the start, right? So we also have the, what was the aura I'm having? So here's the auras. So yeah, the Dread Banner, the Summon, Scatterball that dot auras by us, but the fact that auras from my skills are 3%, you know, gives attack speed, and also we give allies 30% increased damage and also resistance with elemental is really good. This keeps your minions healthy and this keeps them alive. I did perk this out last, so I went for the first one's +2, now I went for the bone armor, last one I went for the Commander of Darkness. The damage wise is not bad, and also giving myself 30% all resist is massive. This means I actually can buy a very cheap armor. Notice this one doesn't have any resistance. This cost me about 1 to 2 Exalted, and that was actually at the start of the game. Now maybe you can pick it up for 1 or even less Exalt because it doesn't have any resistance. The good thing about the armor is it has lots of life, and because I'm kind of looping around with life with my energy shield, it keeps me very healthy, and it makes me use my Forbidden Taste Flask. I keep forgetting the name, I keep saying the Instant Heal Flask. So we'll go to the potion rotation after the skill tree. So with the particular flask and having higher HP, we do heal a lot. And that, if anything can one-shot me, I stay back and I heal back instantly. So after that, I don't think there's anything too major. We're going for the Enduring Bonds because we'll be getting the minions summoned, and it's the same logic with over here with the Call to Slaughter. They kind of work together, which is really good. I do find myself summoning skeletons too much, and right next to it we do get some nice life perks with the mana regen, which is not bad. So for the full details of the talent tree, of course, you can see the pace bin for the path of building. And if you do want to look at it, let's go into path of building quickly. Let's look at the particular adjustments for the build. Over here, we're at path of building, and the adjustments for the build, of course, notice the socket jewel is not socketed here for the Grain Vanity, the corrupted jewel, and this one is not perked out. So keep in mind, if you're actually looking at path of building, you want to unperk this out yourself, and the stats might not show it properly. So what I was trying to say is, if actually I'm lacking a bit of survivability and I'm not going for, the Glorious Vanity here, what I can do is I can unperk this one. So I was just saying that if we actually don't have the corrupted jewel here to corrupt this particular node, we don't have to perk for this whole thing. What we can do is we can actually take this pathway and we can unperk this whole thing. We can take those away. We can unperk this one. We can consider keeping this, or we can unperk it. So what happened is we save a majority of the perks over here, and we can even lose some of those. And after that, if you're not going to be worrying about the minions dying too much, if you just want to use skeletons effectively, and what you can do is you can perk all those. You do lose a jewel, but you can perk for the jewel and don't go to the Indomitable Army until you want to protect your minions. Then you perk for HP here, you perk for all the HP nodes here, and this will make us super tanky. And after that, you should be looking at a ton of HP that's higher than usual. And once you can survive enough and you feel like you're comfortable enough, then you can consider, do I want to perk over here for the Great Retention? I recommend going for the Indomitable Army first, unless you're going for the Glorious Vanity Jewel. That's the one I showcased earlier. That gives us about 1700 energy shield with the 20% HP. And this is the flexibility. Sometimes if I actually don't need a lot of damage, I can unsocket some of the jewels, or I can just change the 2 dust jewel to the 8% increased maximum HP jewel. And this is when it will be depending on the number of intelligence that's around us. So I'll show you guys a jewel, and this is actually an optional one. So I actually favor towards more damage compared to the jewel that gives us more HP, because you can always go for more life nodes, right? So this is the jewel I was talking about, the Animatical Knowledge, which gives us 8% more life, and also depending on the number of intelligence allocated in the radius, we get maximum life again. So if you really do find yourself shorting in life, what you can do is, notice this particular perk here, it has about 70 intelligence that's around it. You can actually perk this one for more life. But I think we should be okay with most damage. And now let's look at the items, the skill sockets, and let's look towards the potion rotation as well. So let's look into the particular sockets for our links. The 6th link chest armor is the only 6th link we have, and as mentioned earlier, we're going for the Valve summoning skeletons, we're going for Impale support, we're going for minion damage, multi-strike, we're going for the melee physical support, and lastly the brutality. Those gems does not need to be awakened, but it does help if they are awakened. At the start, I went for all the normal ones, of course, because eventually I upgraded the summoning skeleton first, because you want to get skeleton high enough level so you can summon 8 skeletons over summoning 7 skeletons. This is going to be at least 10% increase of your damage, especially on single target damage, because skeletons do go onto one target when there's only one boss, and having one extra skeleton is going to go a long way. For the chest piece of armor that follows with the 6th link, it's going to be +1 socket to socket gems if you can find it, or you can go for the +2 to the socket duration gems. Because the Valve skeletons are duration gems, the +2 is actually really good for them. So the +2 takes you a little higher, and you get to +8 skeleton summon very quickly if you have the other items that also give you +1 level to the gems, which will go through them. Not the biggest requirement for the chest armor, as long as it's 6 linked with decent enough HP, say 80 plus or 90 plus, with decent resistance, that's good enough. Because if you have resistance on the chest piece, you can lose resistance on the other pieces and find more HP. So basically it's a game of finding HP, resistance, and having the cheapest effective items. So chest armor, you can find lots of resistance here. I bought this one for about 1 exalted, but my starting chest armor was about 15 chaos, and the trick is to search for a corrupted piece of gear with 6 links and also the right color. You search for 3 red, 2 blue, and 1 green, and that's how you search for it. And if the stats are correct, then just take it. and usually they sell for about 15, 20, 25 sometimes, so it depends what you find and how you adjust your build. After that, the second most important part is going to be the wand. The wand here is going to be a convoking wand. You do not need the double +1 here, and what you look for at the start of the convoking wand is going to be minion damage and minion attack speed. And this should be a basic one. You can go for 1 chaos up to 10 chaos. You can pick those up as your starter convoking wand, and you can pick up both of them. So I really do favor having more damage at the start of mapping. So until I get to tier 10, tier 11, tier 16, I need more damage. I need to be able to clear the maps, and I don't mind dying because I gain experience very quickly. So start with minion damage and also the minion attack speed. The next thing to look forward is going to be +1 minion skill gems. And those usually was going for about 1 Exile. It might be a little less, maybe a little higher depending on the stats. After that, so I'll show you the second convoking one as well. After that, what you really want to be looking for is going to be the... Oh boy, I was like, hey, I should be showing the skills, right? So let's talk about the wand. After that, we'll show the skill links first. I shouldn't be mixing the gears and the skills together. So after that, you should be looking for the spell skill gems and also the minion skill gems. So we're going to postpone on the gear showing. We're going to go for the links first. We showed the 6 link with the skeletons. After that, we have a 4 link up here. The 4 link on the helmet is going to be raised zombies, mid-shield support, the minion life, and also the animated guardian. This is not unnecessary, and what I can do is I can lose minion life and throw in my carrier golem in 1 slot. So here I'm actually going for 3 of my utility summoning units in one of the 4 links. Just with mid-shield alone, they might be dying, but if you have perked for more minion HP, so Indomitable Army over here, there's Sacrifice over here, there's also the Grave Intention over here. If you perk for those, and if you have enough plus level for your minions, here I'm sitting at level 27 for the zombies. It's still a level 20 zombie, by the way, starting up zombies. So they do survive a majority of the fights. Unless you're playing Super Juice tier 16 with extreme modifiers, they don't die that easily. They might be dying to reflect damage, but that's the only counter towards us. And even with reflect damage, if your skeletons do enough damage, you can just resummon them and slowly take down the enemy. I do recommend just, scourging towards the reflect damage, but you can still handle reflect damage. So that's my 4 link. It's flexible to adjust out of the minion life for the 3rd golem here. So we'll just put the golem in. So 3 of my summons are in 1 4 link, just with the main shield. Here I'm going for the minion life because I want the zombies to tank up for me. I also want the animate guardian to be tanky because I don't want him to die, because he did cost me about 4 Exalt. Followed by that, there isn't that much link requirement. As you can see, this is a broken 2 link and a 1 link. This is a 2 link, 2 link. Over here I'll have 3 link, we have a 3 link here. So what's happening? So it's the summoning courier golem. We are linking that with Wraith Spectre and also Blood Magic. The Spectres are here to buff us and also protect us. I'm using 4 Spectres because I happen to have the Spectres to higher level. And if I actually don't have that, what I can do is I can just use 3 Spectres. So you go with a host chieftain and also the current chieftain for the Spectres. If you don't know where they are, they're actually in tier 7, the Act 7. So let me show you guys over here. They're actually in Act 7 and they're in the Ashen Fields. Going to the fields and actually use Desecrate, you'll be able to find the monkeys. The host chieftain over here, which I can show you guys by highlighting on him. This is a current chieftain, right? It's a current chieftain. The current chieftain will give us frenzy to allies, so give us freezing stacks. The host chieftain give us the Impale stacks, which increase our damage. This one increase attack speed. Those are the 2 I'm using. And after that, I actually went for the Hellhound healing. So it's this guy over here, the Ruins Hellhound, and this guy give us Rally Cry. And this does increase our damage a little bit and give us a bit of mana regen. Lastly, I'm going for Everlist, which is a zombie which we found in the Act 3. So Act 3 in the Scepter of God, and that particular zombie actually gives us Proximity Shield. So that's just the last one. You don't really need the zombie, and the Proximity Shield don't really save me, but just nice to have something around us. So going back on the gem sockets, so the 3 links over here. I can go for extra link, but currently I'm running Molten Shell. And in order to have additional gem socket slots and sacrificing one of the unset ring here because I'm not using one of the unset rings because they were too expensive. So I actually sacrificed one of the links here. The minions are very flexible as long as they don't die, and even if they die, I just summon them. So after that, during the other link, I'm using Molten Shell, which will come back to it, and we'll look into the 3 link. The 3 link here is actually not necessary, so those can be broken separately. I should actually break them. So this is Vulnerability, Desecrate, and Flash Offering. I'm using the wand that allows me to trigger a spell when I cast Summoning Skeletons, or any of the spells. So notice here I'm casting Skeletons, and I'm summoning bodies, and then I cast Vulnerability, then I cast Desecrate, then I cast the Flash Offering. So this is like a smart casting for quality of life, and it's not necessary. If I'm actually not using this wand, what I'll be doing is I will be removing Desecrate because I don't need Desecrate in my sockets. I'll be using Flash Offering and Vulnerability manually, and I actually have a free Gems socket slot. What I can do then is I can build towards a minion life towards the Carrion Golem and also Respectors. But for now, I'm actually saving the smart casting for Desecrate. So that can actually work. And after that, we'll be going to this particular section for the auras. We have Generosity and Dread Banner. This gives us buffs for the allies for the Impale. Because we have many Impale skeletons, the Generosity and Dread Banner give us more Impale chances for the allies. We don't actually attack ourselves, so we don't need the aura. So Generosity is actually really good here. Similarly, we have another set of auras for Flash and Stone. So if you look into this Flash and Stone stance, so by clicking the particular skill once, again you change the stance. Right now you can see a golden aura around me, and in this state enemies are blinded, and also we take less damage for enemies that's even within the circle radius, because I'll be defensive playing with this particular stance, and I just make sure I cast away from me, and this way enemy source of damage that comes into me that's not within my circle actually is reduced by 12%. But if I cast the flash, if I go into the Flash stance, I will be manning enemies with increase the physical damage taken by 31%. So how it works is the Flash skill will increase. Where is it? The Flash skill will increase the damage taken by 16%, followed by the main support increased by another 15%. So this adds together for the 31%. I was just going to say you don't need the mem support to be quality level 20 because that increases the damage of the skill, but this is an aura, so we don't really need the damage of the skill. So I just went for the level 21 mem support, and level 20 is fine. So all the level 20 gems works perfectly here. Next up, we have the 2 link again. So over here the 2 link is going to be the cast when damage taken and also Immortal Core. Initially I was going for level 15 on cast when damage taken, and I go for level 16 on Immortal Core. But that was when I was having about 5,000 to 6,000 HP. And earlier, if I had less HP, I was going for like less levels of cast when damage taken. I want this to trigger about 1/3 of my HP. And because I consider bone armor as a part of my HP, so I'm currently sitting at about 8.8k, 8.9k plus the 2,200 armor. The bone armor, so I'm close to 10,000, 11,000 HP. So I want to be 1/3 of that. 1/3 of that right now is 3.5k with the cast when damage taken. It should be a little lower. So at 15, level 15, we're looking about, I think about 2.5k, and sometimes you can go even lower. So make sure you don't level this up too quickly until you feel comfortable. So for me, the range was 1/3. Sometimes it can be even earlier. But if it triggers too early, it kind of breaks my rhythm. I play a little safe and a little conservative when this is triggered, so that's something to keep in mind. But in Immortal Core, we don't have any source of the endurance, and you can of course consider the Molten Shield. But the downside of Molten Shield is that you will actually share the bone armor cooldown. So if I cast bone armor, if I'm going for the normal Molten Shield, what you're going to see is both of those go on to cooldown. So you actually have to have the Val Molten Shield. So, Val Molten Shield for us is going to be added armor, and because we have so much armor with the potions we have here, so I'll refill the potions. I'll just get the normal Molten Shield to show us. So if I'm going to cast Molten Shield, I'm going to drink my potions. Notice I'm at 79% physical reduction because I have so much armor, and if it's a Val Molten Shield, we're actually looking at 80% physical reduction. So Val Molten Shield give us more face tank potential and more durability. and it can be used in conjunction with bone armor, so I can trigger both of them, and this makes us so incredibly tankier. And all it costs is just a level 20 molten shell. You don't have to go 21, 23 here, because I was a little more wealthy with the currency after farming a lot, so I went for the higher ones. No need for that. After that, we have the last aura, which is the summoning scatterbot. This one is pretty much enhanced amount of damage. If you're having trouble in the in the start of the end game, if you're having trouble with gearing and also not getting your resistance down, you can go for the Purity of Flames, which I believe it gives us 25 or 30% aura resistance. So you can go for the aura that gives us aura resist, because Scatterbot does take quite a bit of mana reserve. So if I lose Scatterbot, no, this is my. So if I lose Scatterbot, I have a bunch of mana. So here you have mana that's not reserved for something else. Scatterbot here give us the Ice Aura, the Chill Aura, and also Shock Aura. It's not bad, but you can also go for the Aura Resist Aura, and that's what I was using at the start. So I wanted to be cheap and effective, and eventually I don't need the Aura Resist, so I lost the Aura. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh yes, I do have a Flame Dash. So Flame Dash is just utility. We dash it around, no need to link to anything, and it's very effective. Only downside with Flame Dash and trigger a socket spell when you use a skill is that Flash Dash actually spend more mana, because it will be triggering at one of the socket spells. And that was a little annoying, but with enough mana regen, and because the Hellhound healing also give us mana regen with the Rally Cry, so it was actually not bad. So now let's go into the itemization choices. So we mentioned earlier a little sidetrack into the Convoking Wand. I do believe the most important item is going to be the 6 Link Chest Armor, and you can search for the corrupted ones, just search for the exact socket colors, and that can help. After that, you want minion damage and also minion attack speed firstly on the Convoking Wand, then upgrade your Convoking Wand to a +1 with minion skills. Next up, you want to be getting trigger socket spells when you cast a skill if you can, but that's just quality of life. For me, I'm a guy of, stats first. I need damage first. So I actually look for the +1 to spell skills. So if you look at the blue gems, most of them are spell skills, and the second +1 to spell skills is actually pretty big. And this give us, +1 to Flame Dash, which we don't really need that. Give us +1 to a lot of the summoning minions, and actually all of them, and you also give us +1 to summoning skeletons, which is massive. There is no need to go for the second +1 here. I think 1 +1 was enough because I'm dual wielding. So what you do is get minion damage, minion attack speed on both of your Convoking, then upgrade 1 to +1, upgrade the second one to +1, then you can stay there and upgrade other pieces before you go for the double +1, because it gets incredibly more expensive with a double +1. I think the benchmark is the first one is about 1 to 10 chaos for the minion damage and attack speed. Next one is about 70 to 1 exalt for the +1 for the minion skills. The third one for the 2+ is about 5 exalt to 10 exalt at least. And they don't have the best stats. For me, those two cost me about 12 exalt to 17 exalt, and that's where the most expensive items come into the build. There's no need for double +2, and it was just that I was able to pick up them with some lucky drops in the early games. After with the Convoking, the next item to be on the focus is going to be the Stinging Vest and also your Amulet. Let's focus on the belt first. The belt should effectively give you just the one socket, a lot of HP, lots of resistance. It's hard to pick up particular belt like this and without spending a lot of money. So what I do is I just focus on one particular perk. I focus on life or I focus on resistance, and whichever is the cheapest, I go for that. My first Stinking Belt had almost no life, but it had a lot of resistance, and then I slowly upgraded because I wanted more resistance at the start. I want to get to 75% first. So my first belt cost me about 2 chaos, next one was 6, next one was 15, next one is 25. This one was about 90 chaos back then. So it does go up, but keep in mind you're focusing on one particular stats first. And this is definitely an expensive one to look for, so you can sacrifice some stats here, but compensate that with the gloves and the boots. Once you get your Stinging Belt, you should really look in for a minion gem that gives minion taunt and minion blind. After that, it's a bonus to get the minion life, the life to yourself, and also minion physical damage, because we're physical build. If you just go for the percentage minion taunt and percentage blend, that's enough. And other times you can go for something more defensive here as well. After that, something we should be aware of is we can get +1 all intelligence skills to the amulet. This particular amulet was selling for about 90 KS to 1.5 exalt, depending on the range of the sellers and depending on the how contested it is. Of course, this one didn't sell for that low. This one I bought it for about 4 exalt, 4 to 5 exalt actually, pretty hefty after some upgrades. So the first one I got was just +1 all intelligence with about 20% resistance of anything and about 40 life. So the life and resistance is a bonus. What I really wanted is +1 intelligence, because this gives us again higher skeleton level for us to summon 8 skeletons, and every level we get high on the skeletons we get 5 to 10% more damage. So the +1 is something we can look for, but if you don't have that, then settle for a higher life, higher resistance one. You can also consider getting a +1 on the skeletons here. For me, I figured because I'm using so many blue gems, I might as well get the +1 here. And I think in the long run, it actually pays off, but this is not an early upgrade you want to go for. So in the amulet, you should go for more life, more resistance to keep yourself tanky first, and this is definitely a secondary priority. Next up, we're going to look at the gloves and the boots. For the gloves, something that goes along with us is that we actually go for armor. So keep in mind, you want to find something with armor and something you can quality it up. So here we have increased armor, which is not a massive stats for most other builds, but for us it really helps. You want life, resistance, STR, strength for additional HP, and also more armor. And similarly, you can see here for the 2 stone boots, we have the 20%, 12% fire and cold resistance, and you can roll those to maximum with your currency over here. So you can roll those with your blast orbs, and they do come very handy. Just roll them to maximum eventually. There's lots of them, and they're pretty cheap usually. So what you want to look for is maximum life, a lot of resistance, potentially armor, and also potentially dexterity. I forgot to mention about dexterity because we'll be running Impale support. Impale support requires a bit of dexterity. So here we require 72 dexterity, and if we don't have that, we can't use the gem. There's 2 ways to get that. One way is to look for dexterity on your gear. Here we have a ring with 14 dexterity, we have the amulet with 24 dexterity, we have the boots with 12 dexterity. Now, if you don't have that, what you can do is we do perk very closely to the expertise here for 30 dexterity. I perked into this before I get enough dexterity, but I perk it out for more HP after I have enough dexterity. So having dexterity on your gear will actually enable you to not perk for this, save 1 skill point for later. Not the biggest deal when you're leveling or when you're going to the end game right away, but later when you're short on 1 point or 2, this can change a little bit, but not a must-have though. And of course, for the boots, you do want a bit of movement speed. For this one, that cannot be chilled. I can also go for the maximum movement speed. So which is over here. You can craft those. And where are we? Movement. Anyway, we can craft the 24 here. So I figured, it's a bit of percentage. I might as well go for the cannot be chilled, just in case my potion rotation don't get me the immune to chill effect. Next up, with the helmet. Something with helmet is you do want to build helmet, and we don't have a much dependence on the plus socket gems, because the socket minion gems here are just utility supports. They're here to tank, they're here to do auras, they're here to support us, and you'll be using likely a 5 chaos animated guardian, which you can see in my animated guardian guide about the cheap guardian and the expensive guardian. And what we're looking for is minion damage, we're looking for +1 raised skeletons, we're looking for life and resistance. Everything else is very, very flexible. And if you don't get the +1 skeletons, which will be a little expensive at the start, just go for higher minion damage, life, and resistance. And they shouldn't be costing too much, maybe about 1 to 20 KS, depending on the stats. And the best thing is to settle for something basic. So my starting gear costs about 30 KS at the start, but as I slowly upgrade each of the pieces, I was able to farm more items as I go for higher tiers, and I was able to go further. I'll make a special guide first, but it's always important to know that we didn't get those gears at the very start. My initial helmet was, what was it? It was like a 10 KS helmet, which I eventually sold for 25 KS, so everything is very basic at the start. Now with the gear stats, I'm sure you might be thinking, you know, oh, I forgot to mention about the rings. That's right. I was going to summarize on the gear stats. So with the rings, I am going for unset rings because I want to run my auras. And the best part about unset rings is I was running 2 of them, and I wasn't going for a lot of maximum life. I was going for a bit of the resistance I was missing. I was going for, you know, the socket. I was also going for the flexibility to enhance or craft some of my resistance. So notice here I can craft for fire and chaos, I can craft something else. So having that flexibility does help. Also the unset rings allows me to have the socket which sometimes my gear can't roll into. Because I'm using a heavy armor gears, sometimes I don't get the blue socket, sometimes I don't get the green socket. So the unset ring comes really helpful here because it can be easily manipulated with chrono ops into any of the colors you're missing. Usually I'll go for 2 unset rings, but here the second one is just too good to pass. So what I did was I went for 1 unset ring. The unset ring does not have the best stats, as you can see. In comparison, it's very difficult to get the good stats. We have chaos, we have lightning, we have life. The strength is a big factor. I did chip up the quality. I can go for higher life for the bonus as well. So for this ring here, you just look at the comparison. There's so much that I was gaining. Lightning resistance, chaos, maximum energy shield, 7% energy shield, dexterity, and also maximum life. It's a big difference between the two. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's one of the things I sacrificed for one of my sockets. Same logic works is that we're going for maximum life, resistance, and we're going for, you know, sub bonus with the dexterity. We're going for sub bonus with energy shield if we can. Maximum energy shield is definitely a bonus. One thing I forgot to highlight is while I was gearing up myself for the late game, I was actually going to maximum. So I maximized my fire, cold, and lightning resistance first. I had -60 on chaos at the start. Once I was able to do tier 11 maps and I was able to farm some of the Zara's tier 16 maps, I was buying gears that was tailored towards chaos resistance. So I didn't get the chaos right away because it was too costly. So I was on -60 chaos. But once you get enough of your currency, if you look towards building, you should consider building your chaos slowly. So I perked towards those perks very slowly after level 85 for the additional chaos resistance. I start looking for gears that give me chaos resistance, like the gloves here with 29, the boots has 34, the rings have 28 chaos here, and I'm looking at this one with 12 chaos, and also the belt has chaos. So the chaos resistance is not needed until you get to the tier 11 stage, I feel, and they're too expensive at the start. So don't go for them right away, but they will be a very important factor in the late game against Zara's, against some of the damage types. They do help a lot. Next up, let's look into the potion rotation. As you can see, we have a bunch of potions in my potion section, and I also have 2 potions here in my inventory. What's happening is that I actually have particular potion for different scenarios. For the first potion, what I do have is, this is actually my speed farming scenario. So we have a mana flask for the removal of curse. I'm actually going for the mana flask that instantly regains mana at the end of the flask duration. So when my mana is full, what's gonna happen is, now I'll show you guys. So I'm trying to get all the mana. So you can see that I don't have much mana, and it's very easy for me to get full mana. And if I get full mana, my mana potion stops working. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be always removing curses. So this is one of the cheapest way to remove curses from, constant debuffs. Just to pop your mana potion, now I'm immune to curse for the duration of the potion until it finishes. And this is great because it lasts for the whole duration and it instantly gets my mana to full, which is not a lot. So major mana regen is actually from self regen. This potion is just here for the scenario of the maps that actually don't allow for self regen of mana. There's maps you can't regen HP, you can't regen mana, and I want to be able to do all maps. So having a mana potion like this really helps. Next up, you want to run fast to clear maps, and the best ones to go is definitely Quicksilver with additional speed. You can go for additional charges, recovery, you can go for reduction to charges, usage, and those are the best ones I feel. And this is definitely a utility gear and utility potion. You don't have to go for this potion because if you can't clear the maps, there's no point running faster because you can't kill them, right? So what I start to do is I can take this off, I can take my double armor potion, and this is when I actually need to clear the maps. So I'm be taking my time, I'm pretending I'm a real summoner, I'm actually summoning in front of me, and let the monsters fight, then I'm staying in the back, I'm popping my potions for double rotation for the potions. Of course, there are situations where you'll be subjected to the burning ground and you'll be subjected to monsters with burning damage. What you want to do is you can consider using the Quicksilver for the particular purpose. You can go for removal of the burn ground, and this does reduce our movement speed, but I'm immune to burning and also removes the burning usage, and we're immune to ignite. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is the rotation. So if this maps that's burning, I just put down this one. If it's just normal map, I just put down this one. If I really want to have a tough fight, I want to survive, I put down the particular armor potion, which is the Balsa Flask. You want to go for increased armor during duration and increased duration, because this flask, you can go with lower flask usage, but this flask lasts for a while, and I want to kind of use it for super armor. In combination for the third one, which is the Granite Flask, we get more charges. I'm immune to freezes while I'm using it, so those in combination is really good. So you can see 74 again, and I got 12 armor for my Molten Shell. Next up, as a personal choice, I actually like to go with a Divine Life Flask, because sometimes you lose a bit of health because of poison, because of bleeding, just because of random things, because damage does go through me. Now that I have the Gronis Vanity Jewel that gives me 50% no chaos damage go through energy shield. So damage go through me. It's actually not bad because I'm actually healing myself slowly with this potion. I'm also immune to bleeding and remove bleeding when I'm using it. So that's something as well. Lastly, because I'm building for a lot of the chaos defense in the end game, and before that I don't use it much, by the way. So before that I just use the instantly heal HP potion, so I just press it multiple times. After I have enough chaos resistance, I can look towards a really good Forbidden Flask, and those sells really cheap. It gives you 10% dodge, 10% spell dodge phasing, and it gives you 99% life recovery. You lose 8% of your maximum life. You might think, hey, it's pretty bad. But let me show you. So if you look at my HP, it's 4.8k. I'm gonna press my potion, and my HP went down because it lost 1%, and nothing changed after that. I did not lose one drop of HP because of the chaos resistance. And we'll try that again. So it goes to 99% and it stays there because I'm not gaining life, I'm not losing life, because I have so much chaos resistance, and the instant heal is massive. Sometimes enemy can pop my bone shield, can pop my energy shield, it can get me really low, then I instantly heal, I just teleport up, I can just blink out, and I recover. 3 seconds later I can use bone armor, I can always pop the Val Molten Shell, keep myself alive. So this is what allows us to face check, to tank a lot of things, just to tank up almost everything. We can't tank up Cyrus unless the cast when damage triggers, but we can tank him up. So Cyrus shoots the laser at you right on the last phase, and if you time yourself correctly with the Forbidden Taste, you're looking at about close to 20k effective HP. With enough chaos resistance, you can actually tank him for the whole damage, which is really good. Lastly, I'm sure this is a really long guide, I know, I really want to share everything. So as for skill rotation, for me personally, I go into a default spamming mode. So what I do is, I just run around really quickly with my double potions. So the two default spamming is 1 and 2. So I spend mana and also the speed potion. So now I'm super fast, I'm also I'm actually getting my mana back and also immune to curses. And next up, if I'm fighting, I'll press 3 as well. So I always have the additional armor on. So when I'm actually fighting, I'm looking at 48% armor, and that's usually enough for most of the fights. If my HP goes low, I'll be popping the healing potion, and during the fights, I'll also be pressing Q and W at the same time. Q is just for the bone armor. If I'm in the middle of the fights, I'll always press Q, but if I'm just outside of the fights, I can just go W. It's just a little easier for me to press Q and W at the same time, and it just becomes a mindless spamming with 1 and 2 and Q and W, or 1 and 3 and Q and W. Followed by that, Val Molten Shell is pretty nice, and if you don't have the cast when trigger damage, what you can do is you can go for the Flash Offering, you can go for Vulnerability. Where's Vulnerability? Here, yeah. So Vulnerability can be your one of the keys, you don't have to use the middle button, you can adjust one of the keys on the side of the mouse or just a hotkey here, and lastly you can go Flash Offering. You can also go for the other two, so if my zombies and my golems die, I can resummon them. I don't want to have a hotkey for my animated guardian, just in case random chance I click on an item and I click it and just ruins my animated guardian. I don't really want that, so I don't have that added. So this is when you don't have the cast when damage triggered. This is when you don't have the enchantment when trigger a socket spell when using a skill. So when you do have that, what I do is I keep myself aware of my stance with Flash and Stone, and also I leave the last one for the Golem because it keeps dying sometimes. Because it does not have mid shield. So because it doesn't have mid shield, it's not defensive, it dies. The Spectres are pretty durable though. Level 28 Spectres are level 28 gem give us level 86 Spectres, they're very durable. So they don't die as much unless we get reflected. There's one thing that actually really punishes the build is going to be the Stormcore, and that is from the Metamorph monsters, and that also comes from the Asset Cavern. It's random when the boss have the modifier Stormcore on hit, and the lightning bounces actually destroys a bunch of minions because with so many of them it bounces so much. Everything else we can tank everything, and with enough healing we can do a lot more. Best part of the build is it's got a great progression. So I started the league with about 20-30 chaos once I got to the end game, got some basic items, I slowly farming, I got a few chaos, and I got 1 or 2 exalted lucky drops. The first 2 pickup was the 2 convoking one for +1. After that I picked up the amulet for 1 exalt for the +1 intelligence and very basic HP. After that I picked everything else up for about 20 to 30 chaos each. Then I upgraded the chest armor for 1 exalt to 2 exalt. After that, I pick up my potions because those were selling for 2 to 3 chaos, was too expensive at the start. And after that, we start to farm a little more. The next pickup will have to be the +2, the convoking one. If you can, if you can't, just maximize everything else. You're looking for at least 5.5k of 6k HP. You're looking for the Glorious Vanity, which does increase survivability by so much. This costs 1.5 exalt, but there's not many things with 1.5 exalt. And how many perks did we take? 1, 2, 3, 4. It took 4 perks and 1.5 exalt to give us, 1,700, 1,600 energy shield. And because I'll be perking for the Gravest Intention anyways, it's not that I'm wasting a lot of the perks here. You might also be lucky with some of the corrupted perks. Oh, that was a long guide. This is one of my first guides for Path of Exile, and this is one of my favorite builds for summoners, one of the only build I know and that I play the best. I play like 10 hours a day offline and I really love the build. And I've been farming, I've been trying different tips, I've been having different tabs. Notice I have different tabs. I'll share this little trick with you guys next time. So this is my main shop. Nothing too special, just a bit of the potions. Those are not really selling, but those are selling. I'm only selling those few for variation. And after that, I'm actually adjusting my tabs manually, each of the ones. I'll make a special guide on this. So this is one of the ways I was actually making 10k exalted a day with a bit of farming and lots of trading and just effective uses of time and resource. Really important. And it all started with this build, so that's why I really want to share it. Hopefully you guys find it helpful. I know it's a long guide. I'm not very structured on my first guide. Maybe in the future, guys, I can give you guys more structure, maybe more highlights and everything, and giving me tips and suggestions will really help us out. Thank you again for watching, guys. Hopefully you guys find this helpful, and what I'll do is in the future I'll have shorter guides and maybe a script so I don't have to go everything all over the place, but I'll try my best. Thank you again, and stay safe, stay hydrated, and stay healthy, my friends. All the best of wishes during those hard times, and wherever you are, love from Australia. Take care, everyone.